So pretend you're Mr. Wealthy Man.
Oh, hi there.
And you become a politician.
Pulled myself up by my bootstraps.
You like your job.
I do.
So you can keep your job by listening to communities you represent, leading from the bottom up, and passing legislation that protects your most vulnerable residents, even if it upsets your wealthy donors and friends.
That sounds hard.
Don't worry, there's a second option.
Ooh.
You can change the rules of how the election works. Make it more expensive to get on the ballot so it's easier for you and your wealthy friends and harder for independent voices for more modest backgrounds.
I picked the second option.
So did many Republicans and white Democrats in 1995. The rules changed so it was harder for candidates without a war chest of money to get on the ballot. It was harder for candidates like Jamal Green. Jamal is a community organizer and activist from the south side of Chicago, and he ran for mayor this year. So Jamal, why did you decide to run for mayor?
Well, I decided to run for mayor because politicians, regular politicians, only come around when it's election time. We need someone from the communities that's been fighting for the communities to have a voice for the policies that need to change Chicago.
So the first step to run for mayor is just to get on the ballot. Can you tell me what it takes to do that?
Well, to be on the ballot for mayor, you need 12,500 signatures, and you only can sign one petition. So if you're a city resident, you only can sign one petition. You can't sign multiple ones.
Right, so that seems like a lot of signatures, but Chicago's a pretty big city, like the third biggest city in the country. Can you contextualize for the audience just how much 12,500 signatures is?
Well, that is the most signatures that you need to run for any office in this country. You need 1,000 signatures to run for mayor in Los Angeles. You need 3,750 signatures to run for mayor in New York. And for governor of Illinois, you only need 5,000 signatures. So if you can definitely see something is wrong here.
So you need more than double signatures to run for mayor than for a governor.
Yes, that's right.
How did we get here?
As recently as 1995, Chicago used to have partisan elections with party primaries. You only needed about 3,000 signatures to get on the ballot. But House Republicans and white Democrats worked together to pass a law that gave Chicago its current nonpartisan system for electing its mayor. Republicans thought they benefited because their candidates didn't have to officially affiliate with their party in the blue city of Chicago. And a lot of white Democrats had been pushing for a nonpartisan election since 1986.
In 1983, young Richard M. Daley and incumbent Mayor Jane Byrne split the white vote, clearing the way for Harold Washington to defeat the machine and become our mayor. White Democrats certainly did not want to see a repeat of that. So when our election system changed in 1995, a spokesperson for the Harold Washington Party was clear. White Democrats and white Republicans have come together with a scheme to prevent African Americans of the Harold Washington Party from becoming mayor. That's all this is. We clearly see it as a voting rights violation.
But the new law didn't specify how many signatures you needed to get on the ballot. So a lawyer at the Board of Elections said, based on legal precedent, the total number was 25,000. This ridiculous signature count heavily favored the incumbent mayor, who was Richard M. Daley at the time. Lawyer Frank Avila sued the Board of Elections, so Illinois legislatures half the total number of signatures needed to get on the ballot. So that's how we got to where we are today. 12,500 signatures.
It's a system that still favors the wealthy.
You can hire firms to collect petitions for you for about $1 to $2 a signature. But we have 14 candidates on the ballot, and honestly, that feels a little overwhelming. So maybe the system is working?
Just to play devil's advocate, we have 14 candidates who are on the ballot, which I think is a little overwhelming for the average citizen. So maybe 12,500 signatures is a fair number to collect?
Well, you're actually more than 12,500 signatures.
Yeah, could you explain that a little more?
Well, you want to make sure that you got more than 12,500 signatures to withstand challenges, because opponents want to know if you actually have genuine signatures or not. So you got to have some cushion.
Okay, so maybe you'll want another 500 signatures just to be safe in case they're not valid. So a total of 13,000 signatures. Does that sound reasonable?
Way more.
15,000 signatures?
More.
How about 20,000?
Way more.
30,000?
Well, if you get around that, maybe a challenger won't challenge you if you get about 35,000.
Right. So 35,000 is that's just ridiculous to me. Why do you need so many signatures?
Well, you need so many signatures because challengers will strike out as many signatures as they can to put you under the 12,500 benchmark. And It could be for any reason. The signature is not genuine, the address is incomplete, but sometimes they just go through and shotgun your challenges and strike out as many as they can just to get you under the benchmark. Once they get you under 12,500 signatures, the Board of Elections make you go through records examination, and you're in there 11 hours a day, every single day. Now, if you don't have somebody there, they're gonna start without you. So you're not able to object, you're not able to object to a ruling that this regular person who's not an expert will rule against. They can say, oh, the signature looks a little bit different because the J wasn't the same. So it puts regular people at a disadvantage, because if you don't have money to keep people there for 11 hours a day, or if you don't have volunteers who wants to sit in the Board of Elections like it's a classroom for 11 hours a day, then it'll allow the objector to have an advantage over us. You're spending thousands of dollars on legal fees and you're trying to campaign at the same time. It is nearly impossible for a regular individual who can't hire people to go through this process and campaign at the same time. It's almost impossible.
So it sounds like your petitions were challenged.
Yes, by Willie Wilson.
Why do you think he challenged your signatures?
Well, he challenged me because he said there were too many black candidates on the ballot, and he wanted to be the only black male, so he challenged every black male on the ballot.
Willie Wilson also challenged LaShawn Ford and Neil Solis Griffin, but they survived and are on the ballot. Tony Preckwinkle challenged women of color: Susanna Mendoza, Dorothea Brown, and Lori Lightfoot. Susanna and Lori made it to the ballot. Dorothy got kicked out. It's unfortunately a pretty common practice. In 1996, Obama got both of his opponents kicked off the ballot because of petition challenges. Chicago politics.
So you dropped out of the race because you didn't have enough petitions?
No. We had to drop out of the race because we didn't have enough money. We were going through this process in which we had to pay lawyers tens of thousands of dollars just to withstand these challenges, all while not being able to campaign because we were in a classroom checking signatures for 11 hours a day. It was not a chance that we can run a winning, viable campaign. So we thought it was best to step out where we were.
And that's the problem. I don't know if I would have voted for Jamal.
But he's had a history of serving his community, and organizers like him deserve to be on the ballot without needing a boatload of money.
And this is where I need to apologize to you. I'm not an expert on how elections should be run in a fair and equitable way. I don't know if we should go back to having partisan elections with primaries. If we reduce the required petition count, there will be even more candidates on the ballot. And that may overwhelm average citizens and discourage them from going to vote. I just don't know what the solution here specifically looks like. It's beyond the scope of my knowledge.
But I do know that the system is very opaque, subjective, and heavily favors those who have more money.
The fix to this problem isn't easy. We would need state legislators to push for legal change in consultation with city leaders. But there are two ways you can help here. If you know who you're supporting for mayor, message them, call them. Make them take a public stance on how they're going to reform this backwards election process. Second, share this video. The first step to change is being informed, so let's spread the word. Remember, Mr. Wealthy Man set up a system that favors him and his friends.
You betcha.
We need to fight back.
Elections shouldn't be a rich person or a machine candidate's game. And when we end up with a mayor or officials that are backed by a machine or those who are unfavorable, that is because the process in place prevents regular people who don't have the resources to run from actually winning or getting as far as they should.